The last crash was 2008. I made more money than in my whole life.
Really?
Whether you're making $250K or $2.5 million for the high earners here, don't get too smart for your own good.
This could be the best thing that ever happened to you. There's a lot of good that comes out of this much pressure because it forces you.
It can be a scary thing when the market crashes. That's why in this video, I bring together some of the top money experts in the world to talk about how to master and manage your finances. If you enjoyed this, make sure to like the video, leave a comment below of your biggest takeaway, and subscribe for more greatness in your life.
Why is a time like this a great time to make money?
Well, it's a great time to be introspective and to pivot and to do resets and to try stuff you never tried before.
Yeah.
Because you might as well, right? We're all sitting at home. We got to try something.
Got those free time. Yeah.
I mean, we pivoted a whole bunch of product lines here at Ramsey and all kinds of things, and we could throw all these offerings out there, stuff that we might have messed around with split tests for a year or whatever. Instead, we just dumped it on the street. Let's just try it. Just see if we can help some people and give some people something to do while they're at home with some digital products. And so that's exciting. You may have a situation where you hated your job. I mean, statistics tell us that 68% of Americans hate their job. And some of you don't have that job anymore. So you get the opportunity to get one you like now.
Yeah.
And you might not have done that on your own. So this could be the best thing that ever happened to you. There's a lot of good that comes out of this much pressure because it forces you to reset.
Yeah.
It forces you to rethink. And, 2 or 3, 4 crises ago, I don't know, I'm an old guy now, I had a personal crisis, of losing everything. I decided I was never going to be the victim of the things I can control when one of these things that I can't control come at me again. And so we got out of debt. And we built an emergency fund. And we were in the last downturn of 2008, we were in a position we had piles of cash. And so I was able to buy real estate at a nickel and a dime on the dollar. And it was a wonderful time. But there were other times I was broke and couldn't take advantage of stuff being on sale. But if you're in a position you got money right now, the stock market's on sale, real estate's not moved much yet. But if you're buying even consumer items other than toilet paper, most things are on sale.
I know. How much deeper down do you think this will take in terms of, you said real estate's not on sale yet, but it probably will be. How much farther down do you think things are to go, and for how long, with your, just your guess on this?
I mean, weather forecasters and economists, the only people can be wrong all the time and still keep their job. So I have no idea, but I do know there's going to be a direct correlation between how long we stay out and how long it takes us to recover. No kidding. It's kind of common sense. The obvious is every week that we're out, there's another series of businesses that will never reopen, that will close. And so, and that's a recession is 2 consecutive quarters of the gross domestic product, all the goods and services produced in the U.S., shrinking rather than growing. That's all it is. It receded rather than expanded. And so recession sounds like a big, scary depression type word, but it simply means 2 quarters. We've not had 1 quarter yet, shrinkage. So it would have to be up into the fall before you can officially declare this a recession, or what results from the corona shutdowns a recession. So I don't know, but I'm sure hoping that the folks are not ill and that nobody dies, and it's a horrible thing. And but the juxtaposition with that is the sooner we can get back to work, the fewer people are going to be affected by the economics of this. And it's not saying I'm trading a dollar for a life, but today, actually, that we've lost about 100 jobs per case of corona right now.
Wow.
So the corona shutdown
in America, or
in America, yeah, we've lost about, the corona shutdowns affected 100 families' jobs for every case, not death, for every case of the virus. And I don't want anybody to be sick. I don't want anybody to die, and I don't want the hospital bills and the beds and the ventilators to run out. I don't want any bad stuff. I'm not a medical person. But I am an entrepreneur, and I'm, every day we're not working is a trade-off, and it is a good trade-off because you don't want to kill people. Believe me, I'm not saying that. But man, it's painful to watch these people lose their businesses.
Yeah. From you mentioned you've been through 3 or 4 recessions. I don't want to say your age out here, but it sounds like you've been around the block. You've experienced some stuff. I only went through really I guess my adult life, when I was 24, I guess it was the 2008 to 2009 time frame when I was just got out of school and I was trying to figure out my life. I had 3 credit cards I was living off of. I was living on my sister's couch for a year and a half. I was in college debt and I didn't have any skills that I thought were usable to get a job or do anything. And when I look back, 11, 12 years ago, that was actually the greatest time and the greatest gift for me to develop skills, to work hard, to hustle, to try to see how can I make $100 here and there and then turn that into a business. And it was the hardest time and the greatest time for me. I'm curious, with your experience in watching these over the years, what were the greatest lessons you learned from each one that you applied in the last 3 weeks with your personal business?
Well, it is cliche, but cliches come from truth. That it's the greatest time and the worst time in your life. You don't want to go back there.
No.
Good Lord, no. I don't want to
Never.
go back there. I went bankrupt. I lost everything in my 20s. I don't want to go back there. But the lessons that I learned from that pain were so thorough. Pain is a thorough teacher.
Yes.
That it was a rich time. The fertilizer was everywhere. Lots of place to grow stuff, lots of poop. So, and that's what you had there in 2008. There weren't any jobs. You could just, there was a contraction of the economy, a recession, and you are on your sister's couch. And so you found out that the secret sauce in your life is the guy in your mirror. That it's not some outside variable that's going to come and save you. The cavalry's not coming. Santa Claus doesn't live in Washington, D.C. It's up to you, baby. Get up off the couch. I got to go leave the cave, kill something, and drag it home. You found that truth in that moment. I found that truth that, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That old saying. I found that truth. And so nowadays, now that I've been through, Y2K or 911 or all these initials come at you, the horrible thing of 2008, now the corona. The only thing I am sure is we're going to get through this.
Yeah.
You get hope because you go, it's not going to kill you. Well, I guess you could get the virus. I don't mean that, but I'm saying the economic stress that we're under, the fear that we have, the concern or the worry that we have, you don't die from it. But you feel like there's this hopelessness, and the truth is that's unfounded. The truth is there's a lot of reason to have hope. By September, where do you really think we're going to be? By this time next year, are you not 90-something% sure that the economy will be roaring again and your life will be back to some level of normalcy? You think it's going to be 10 years for you to personally recover from this? No, that's absurd. And you know that once you've walked through several of them. And so it's just, to me, it's like, yeah, you're going to make it. We're going to be okay.
Yeah. And so I guess I'm just curious about your personal thoughts. Do you think to yourself, like, I'm fine because I've followed my 7 steps for years and I've got, cash and I feel safe and protected. So now how can I shift and adapt and pivot and serve my community and customers more? Or do you feel any anxiety personally at all? Or?
Oh, no, none. No, we're in fabulous financial shape. It's not I got a lot of money invested in the stock market. It's going down. I'm going to put some more money in while it's on sale. If real estate goes on sale again, I'll buy some more. So no, my personal stuff, it's not arrogance. It's just, I've been doing this a long time.
You're the king of it. Yeah.
I'm the little pig in the brick house, huff and puff, baby. And so, but it does put you in a position to serve then. And truthfully, you get more joy, even in a crisis, in serving than you do in sitting in the basement and counting your coins. The opportunity, I got 1,000 folks on our team, and the struggle and the scratching and the scrappiness and the clawing to keep this place running, and all of them not have their incomes interrupted in any way during this time. That's an act of service and leadership. The act of service of speaking hope and life into this, into the communities around America right now is an act of service on my part. It's being on the air 3 hours a day of the Dave Ramsey Show and saying it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay, over and over and over again. Right now, that's my job. That's what I do, and it's there. That's just so much more satisfying than counting coins.
Yeah. Now, I followed your steps when I was, 25, 26, when I started making some money, when I was like, it's hard to follow a step when you feel like you're living off credit cards and in debt and you're
Oh
not
yeah.
making any money. So you feel like this sense of helplessness, really. And I know
Yeah.
I've listened to a lot of your shows with people where they feel helpless, and it takes that initial momentum to kind of kickstart it and see a little savings here and there, and then pay off one thing here and there. But I tell you, once I finished those, I guess really the first 5 to 6 steps. I don't have a home still. I still rent for personal reasons, but the first 5 to 6 steps, and then building wealth and giving. Once I got through these, it's just like, man, you feel so much more bulletproof. I feel so much more bulletproof now after 10 years
Yeah.
of building into this recession. I feel safe. I feel fine. I feel protected. And it gives me so much more peace of mind since I did follow your steps. So I would first want to acknowledge you for that, for creating something so simple for us and providing this 3 hours a day for everybody. I think it's amazing. You sound like a preacher and a motivational speaker to me in the last few minutes, just speaking life and hope into us. So I appreciate that. What are you telling the people right now who are saying, you know what, I didn't follow your advice. I didn't do what I should have done. I still live off of credit cards. I overbought, paid for my house, and I've got this expensive lifestyle and credit cards that I know I'm wrong. I made a mistake. I own it, and now I'm screwed. And I just got 50% cut of my work. I might lose my job in 2 months. I've got all these bills. Like, how do you even respond to something like that?
Yeah. Well, I certainly don't say I told you so. That's not the
Yeah.
message, because
Yeah.
I've been there. I've done stupid stuff too, and that's not helpful. And it doesn't bring any healing. The thing is this: we all get wake up calls.
Mm-hmm.
We get wake up calls in our relationships, our spiritual walk, our leadership styles. We get wake up calls in our finances, and some people, the phone's ringing off the hook right now. They're getting wake up calls on a bunch of things. They're at home with their family, and they're starting to realize, I was disconnected from my family. I haven't been plugged in. They got a wake up call on their relationships at home. They've gotten a wake up call on, I don't have any savings, and I'm deeply in debt. This isn't working. And so the cool thing is, when you get the call, then you have to make the choice. Are you going to answer the phone? If you pick the phone up, that means, baby, it's time to change. And you can look back, and you might be 27 years old right now watching this, and you're screwed. You lost your job. You got no money. You got no savings, and you feel like it's all over. And I remember in 1970, I was 10 years old, and I was in my grandpa's backyard. We were tearing down an old deck, and I pulled some nails out of those old boards as we were taking the boards off. And he taught me to put them down and straighten them with a hammer and save those used nails in a coffee can. Now, my grandpa Ramsey was one of my favorite people on the planet. This is 1970, and he was still answering the phone that rang in the Great Depression. It changed his life. He was frugal and careful and wise with money the rest of his life. And so someday, 27-year-old, you're going to be sitting on the back porch with your grandkid, and you're going to remember, back in 20, there was the coronavirus, and it changed my life, and that you're going to be that guy. You're going to be giving dad jokes, and grandpa jokes, right? Like I am now. And you're going to get that opportunity. I was 28 years old when I lost everything. It was my fault. It was the S&L crisis. The banking climate changed. I'd built a house of cards. I was stupid. And the phone rang. It was my wake-up call. Are you going to answer the phone? Are you going to change your life to where you say, never again? I'm going to control the controllables to where I'm the little pig in the brick house. Never again. That may be the only thing you get out of this crisis. And if it is, you got enough.
Preach to me, Dave. Come on now. I love this. What's the biggest wake-up call for you that this has had? Maybe it's not the financial side of things or business because you guys are thriving. Is there something, relationship, family, friendships, health? Is there anything that's woken you up now or in the near future and recently?
Well, I've spent the last 15 years pouring into our leadership team and into the Ramsey personalities, creating this succession plan of, and so it's not a wake up call. It's more of a source of pride as to how our leadership team and our Ramsey personalities are reacting in the moment here without me coaching them. They already knew what to do.
They're leading.
They're out there doing it. They're doing it. They're out there.
They're not waiting for Grandpa Dave to say, "What do I do? Tell me the steps." No.
They already did it. They already did it, and then I found out about it. And that's awesome. And so it's just a sense of this is starting to work. I mean, when Rachel Cruz and Ken Hogan and these guys are doing, Ken Coleman are doing all these hits, and Chris Hogan, all these guys are doing all these hits, these radio and TV and appearances and all this stuff everywhere, and the networks are calling and asking for them, which is awesome. And so that kind of thing is. I don't know if it's a wake-up call as much as it is. It's very satisfying to say, all that work of the last decade and a half of getting everybody ready to win because we were winning in a winning environment. But then when you get the pressures on and you get squeezed, you see what comes out, and it's good stuff coming out.
What was the last, what year would you say was the last big wake-up call for you around, one of the main areas of your life? Do you remember when that was? Where you're like, I'm eating a little too many candy bars, or my relationship, or what? It sounds like you've had the finances down for many years, but is there another where you're like, you know what? I really didn't do as good as I should have done here.
I guess it's probably leadership, and I probably get one of those calls every day.
Really?
There's some days I'm a world-class leader, and some days I'm just a butt.
In what way? Like, how are you?
So, sometimes I do a better job than other times as a leader, and I own it. I get it, but you'd think as old as I am, I'd be doing better. So, but I know what I'm supposed to do, but sometimes I just don't have the energy to do it. I don't care. Yeah. And I should just care more. I really should. I shouldn't be such a grouch.
Oh no, you care a lot about a lot of people. I'm curious, what's the best dad joke you share?
Oh Lord, I have no idea. You got me. I'm not a dad joke guy really, other than just stupid stuff off the cuff that doesn't even make sense generationally. So yeah.
No good dad jokes. What is the most common thing that you're hearing with the people that are calling in for you right now? What's the thing that you hear over and over again that they need the most support with?
I think there's a sense. I think when hope gets gut punched, the way it has for folks right now, the answers fall. A lot of them fall in the category of this is not going to last forever, because there's this sense that stock market's down. Do I take my investments out? Well, only if you think it's going to stay down forever,
right?
Because you're 35. You're going to be investing for 30 more years. You don't think it's going to come up in 30 more years? I mean, really, you're predicting the end of America? I mean, that's silly. But your emotions tell you lies when they're based in fear and when they're based in anger, and they tell you lies, and they tell me lies. We believe those lies in situations like this. So, I lost my job. I know, but that's happened before and probably happen again. Just get you another one. Well, there's a lot of people hiring right now.
There are a lot of people hiring.
Amazon's hiring 100,000 people right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's jobs. It may not be the one you want, but you can get some food.
Yeah.
Get you a leaf blower, and rich people are afraid of leaves. You can make some money. So there's some stuff to do out there. But so the thing the sense that the thing you're afraid of is going to last longer than it is.
Yeah.
Whether it's the actual virus, whether it's the shutdowns, whether it's the economic repercussions of the shutdowns, whether it's the employment situation, whether it's the quarantine, it feels like it's going to last forever. But I mean, the chances of you being in the exact situation you're in a few months is almost zero. Yeah. Your life is not a snapshot. You're not trapped in this moment. It's a film strip. The story's going to continue to unfold.
Yeah.
And so that when hope takes a gut punch, though, we get down in that fear, or we're mad, or however it is we manifest that stuff, those negative things, the emotions that we all have in these situations, that's where a lot of my questions are coming. They're all built in that. And I'm spending all my time going, Yeah, but it's not going to last forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not going to last forever. Yeah, but let's visit this in May. I think you're going to be okay. By June, are you even going to remember this? It's the great toilet paper shortage of the spring. I don't know. I mean, what is it? It's, some people are going to have devastating, horrible things that are going to be life changing, but that's a very small percentage compared to the number of that are worried about it.
Yeah.
And so,
you're going to get out of it. You're going to get out of it.
You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay.
I like Preacher Dave, man. This should just be Preacher show. I like this. What is the worst investment people should be making during this time, and what's the best investment they can make?
In my life, when I have become desperate, right after that's when I become stupid.
Yeah.
And
explain.
The other one is when I get, when you get scared and you go rushing towards something out of fear, that sense of desperation, this thing, when you do that, you're getting ready to screw up. I mean, just count on it. And the other time you do that is if you're greedy. If you think I got this one, I can take advantage of this. And I mean, greedy as a lack of virtue greedy. I don't mean greedy in a positive way where I'm being ambitious. Okay. I mean the negative sides of greed. And so if you're functioning in desperation or in this no holds barred, I'm going to just clean up on other people's pain thing, that's when you're getting ready to screw up and you're getting ready to make a major mistake. And so you're set up also for con artists when you do that. And so if you're functioning in high emotion, your brain just doesn't work good. My friend Art Laffer says, when you're panicked and when you're drunk, you don't make good decisions. And so, when you're on high emotion, your brain your critical thinking skills shut down. And so that's when I've made the biggest mistakes in my life, is when I was desperate, and the few times that I was greedy, where I thought, I'm going to slip in there and that's going to be easy money.
So how do we invest without fear of, it's going down, I need to take it out, or like trying to time it? How do we do that?
Great question. It's one of the main reasons I wrote the book. I always tell people, if you just read the second chapter of the book and nothing else, it'll change your life. You can do that with multiple chapters, but that chapter is really about teaching people that winter is coming. Yes. We all know winter's coming, right, to coin a phrase, but that winter is the best time on earth. And I know that's counterintuitive, and I don't mean like being a positive thinker. I mean pure facts. So in the book, I take you through 10 facts. I'll give you a couple of them right now. Yep. The first fact I give people is, why do people not invest? They're afraid of failing. If you're a millennial, right? So you grew up witnessing 2008 when you were still relatively young. How old are you now?
33.
Okay, so you were what, 27? What?
2008. 27, I guess.
Yeah, 27, 28 years old. So you're a young man, and you're watching the world melting down in front of you. Yeah. For most millennials, they are the first generation since the generation that went through the Depression that is not investing at the ratio they need to, even close.
And they have more debt than everyone probably, right? With all the
They have more
loans.
College debt than everyone, absolutely true.
I have a friend that has $400,000 in debt, dental school.
President Obama just paid off his debt 5 years ago while he was still president.
No.
I swear to God.
Oh my gosh.
It's mind-boggling. And he had a bunch of scholarships, but the last bit, it took him that long. So what I tell them is, listen, paying off your debt's not enough. You've got to become an owner, or you're always going to be in that place. So yes, pay off your debt, but here's what you need to know. You got to become an owner. You got to get in the game, but you got to understand the rules of the game. If you don't know the rules of the game, the old phrase is, when a person with experience meets a person with money, we know the phrase, the person with the money ends up with the experience, the person with experience ends up with your money, right?
Yeah.
So I teach people the rules of the game so they don't get screwed. But the most important thing is this. Winter's coming, but people react. So let's take last year. Last January, 2016, we had the worst stock market opening in the history of the stock market. First, I think it was 10 days. Yeah. There was a drop of $2.3 trillion with a T.
Crazy.
Everybody's freaking thinking the bear market's here, the market's over, the crash is here. I think the market dropped 800 points one day. And on that day, all the richest people in the world were in Davos, Switzerland, for the big conference that they do every year. And they went there, MSNBC went there, and everybody's freaking, what are we going to do? And they said, let's go ask Ray Dalio. Now, your listeners may or may not know Ray Dalio as, if you're not in the financial business, probably never heard of him. You probably heard of Warren Buffett, but Ray Dalio's done more. You had to have a $5 billion net worth and $100 million to give him, or he wouldn't talk to you 10 years ago. Now, he doesn't give a shit how much money you have, he won't talk to you, because he's got a closed fund. But they go and they put Dalio on television, CNBC, he's the king. What do we do? And he says, well, you don't need to panic. Corrections happen all the time. But you need a strategy that when markets go up and down, you don't go up and down. And he said, I spent 15 years of my life to perfect such a strategy. All of my money's in that plan. And he said, it's called All Seasons, and I've never revealed it before, but I gave it to Tony Robbins. He extracted from me, and it's his book. So you got to go read his book. This is what he says on national television the day the markets are crashing. And that day, to give you an idea, which is the beginning of February, I think it was 9 days into February, the market was down 9% in the first 5 weeks of the year. His strategy, which he gave me, which has made money 85% of the time for the last 75 years. Wow. It's averaged a 10% return, just under, and the average loss, when at 15% loss, was 1.6. Right. So if you go to Vegas and you could spend 85% of the time make money, and when you made money it was 10%, your loss is 1.6, you go forever. His plan made 2% while the market was down 9%. So it was up 11% difference. Now, I'm not suggesting that's the only strategy to do. There's many. His is the smoothest ride with the least risk. But what it did was, combination of that, and then right after that, I interviewed Fed Chair Alan Greenspan. He was the head of our economy, the most powerful man in finance for 19 years, 4 presidents. He was there running. I was just with President Clinton this last week. He was the Fed chair for him. And I interviewed him for like 2 hours, or 3 hours off stage, 2 hours in front. And I asked him in the very beginning of this thing, I said to him, I said, look, if you could be put in the Fed today, what would you do? And he looks at me, and as I said, he leans forward and he says, resign. So I look at that and go, oh my God, I need to write a book that'll free people. So here's what will free you. Everybody's afraid of the crash. So here's what you need to know, 2 terms you should understand. Correction versus crash. Anytime the market drops from its high by 10% or more up to 20, it's called a correction. Right. If it drops 20% or more up to 80%, like in the Great Depression, then it's called a crash or called a bear market, okay? So how often does a correction happen? How often do we have to be prepared for it? Since 1900, we've had a correction on average every year for 116 years. So when is winter coming? This year on average. It's like, how often does winter come? You wouldn't be surprised if it stormed and rained. Now, some winters are long, some are short, some are harsh, some are light, but winter always comes. So I wasn't panicked when this happened last year. I'm not panicked whenever it happens because I know it's supposed to be. Yeah. How long does it last? Average, 56 days. Okay, so just under 2 months. What's the average drop during that time? 14% over the last 30 years, 13.5 over the last 100 years. So I use the more recent one. 14% gets your attention, right? 14% you get a little gut check. Yeah. But here's what you need to know. 80% of all corrections never become a bear market. 80%. So all this fear, and what people do is what you said you did, is they see it, it's freaking out, I'm losing money, I'm the hell out of here, and they get out. The stock market never took a dime from anybody, only you can take it from you. You sold, that's why you lost. Right? So if you look back and say, what was it like in 2008? I can remember vividly being with my platinum partners and saying, you see these $80 stocks? This is 6 months before the crash. I told them in April, I brought them to Dubai, and I said, these stocks are going to go to 8, and some are going to go to $1. Wow. And by October, and I told them what to do, so they were able to get out. October, I go on the Today Show in October of 2008, and they go, Tony, there's been $3 trillion meltdown. Pump the country up. You got 4 minutes. like, ready to go. That's not what I do, first of all. And I said, that'd be a lie. I'm not going to pump up. At that point, the $80 stocks were 8. I said, some of those, I said, I'm not a market forecaster, but I work with Paul Tudor Jones, one of the greatest investors in the history of the world. In the biggest market crash in history, 1987, he made 200%. Wow. When everybody else was losing their entire life. And I've been coaching him continuously now for 24 years, every single day. Wow. So I said, I work with the best in the world. And they're telling me, based on history in the 30s and history in the 70s, this $8 stock, some are going to be $1. And I remember the day in March of 2009, Citibank, which had been, I think, $70, sold for 97 cents. You could go and take your money out of the ATM, it costs you more to take your money out than to own the bank, right? And then I told people it'll jump from 99 cents to $6, $10, $12 in a month or two, and it's exactly what it did, right? So what you got to know is corrections happen every year. You got to know they're a couple of months. You got to know it's 14%, and you won't lose because 80% of the time it doesn't go to a bear. Now, what about the bear? The bear market, it happens, to give you an idea, in the last 100 years, every 3 to 5 years. You've gone 8 without one. We're way overdue.
Yeah.
So in modern years, last 30 years, it's about every 5 years. The average length of a bear is 1 year. The average drop is 33%.
Wow.
A third of those drops go 40% or above. That, I don't care how well prepared you are, that's a scary thing.
Yeah.
But it is the greatest opportunity in your lifetime to go from wherever you are financially to where you want to be. I hope your audience is listening right now. Hear me. If you want to leapfrog and you're a millennial and you think there's no future, or you're, a baby boomer and you think you're too old and it's too late, the greatest gift you have is coming. I know it doesn't sound like it. This is not positive thinking bullshit. This is the truth. Wall Street, the stock market, is the only place that when things go on sale, people freak out. If I said, you like Ferraris?
Sure.
If I said to you, Ferraris go on sale for 50% off.
Awesome.
But when I tell you Apple's on sale for 50% off, you go, oh, what am I going to do here? What's wrong? The whole world's coming to an end. If you think about it, how old are you?
33.
33. So let's assume if you were 35 and you lived to 85, you got 50, 52 years ahead of you. That means you have 52 more corrections to live through.
Right.
That means you're probably in those 50 years going to have 10 more bear markets to live through. If you're going to have a gut checks every time or you're going to leave out of it,
Right.
if you didn't participate because you thought, oh, the market's too volatile, I can't trust it, all that stuff, you missed 250% return in the last 8 years. I mean, you've missed out on everything while you're waiting for things to be better. And if you won't do it when it's like this, when it crashes, you're not going to get in.
Sure.
So here's the good news about the bear. The good news about the bear, average ones a year. Could be longer, but that's the average. Could be shorter. But here's what's cool. Every single bear market in the history of the United States has led to a bull market, meaning right afterwards. So 2008, this plummeting, what happened in 2009? Up 67% in a year. I can show you every single bear market, and the next year when it comes out, it's this explosion. Now, that's not true in every market in the world. It's true for 2 centuries in the United States.
Wow.
So that's why Warren Buffett says, I want to be greedy when people are afraid. And I want to be afraid when people are greedy. If you remember 2008, he was telling everybody, buy. He was having the time of his life. Buy, everything's on sale. So what you have to do to become unshakable is turn, the metaphor I use is turn the snake into the rope, meaning we all know the story. It's the middle of the night. You're walking through the yard or someplace and you see a snake and you're freaked out. You pull back, you come in the morning and it's a rope. Once you know it's a rope, you're never afraid again.
Yeah.
I want to take for people investing and show them how to turn that snake into the rope it really is. And I'll tell you one final stat on all this. People always say, and you started to bring it up, timing. How do I time it? Like right now, things are too expensive. I want to wait. People have been saying that for 8 years. Is there going to be a correction? Yes. But when it corrects, you want to invest again. You'll get dollar cost averaging. If you paid a little too much here, you'll paying less here. It'll bring the average price to a reasonable place. It's going to allow you to succeed. But here's what people need to know about timing. If you are not in the market, it's the most dangerous thing. This is so counterintuitive, so I hope your audience is listening. Let me show you. There's 2 different research projects. One was done by JP Morgan. I just spoke for them the other day at their Alternative Investments Conference. And to be in the room, there are 400 people. You have to have $1 billion network to get in the room.
Crazy.
It was mind-boggling, right? So JP Morgan did a study, and also Schwab did a separate study, 20-year studies. In the last 20 years, to give you an idea, the average S&P 500, that index, has produced 8.2%. Over 30 years, it was 10.28. But in the last 20 years, a little bit less. Still great. You double your money, roughly you're in a position where you double the money a little more than every, what is it now, 7.2, so it'd be like a little more in 10 years. But here's what they found out. If you miss the 10 best trading days in 20 years, because you're trying to time the market and you're not in it during one of those days, you went from 8.2% return over that period per annum, per year. It dropped down almost half, 4.5. What are the chances of you knowing the best 10 days to trade in 20 years? None, right? Warren Buffett said, market timers and market forecasters are only there to make fortune tellers look good because no one can do it successfully. Even if they do it for a while, it doesn't last. It's luck. Jack Bogle told me, who started Vanguard, $3 trillion company. Wow. He said, we took gorillas, 1,000 in a room, and had them flip coins. And we said how many times they got heads, how many got tails. Just gorillas flipping them randomly. And he said one gorilla in that set of those turns flipped heads 21 times in a row. Now, when you look at that and see all these gorillas doing it, you look out and say, what a lucky gorilla. Mm-hmm. He said, but in the hedge fund industry, in the mutual fund industry, when somebody does 10 in a row, you go, what a brilliant investor.
Right, what a genius.
And it's just averages and luck at that time.
That's it, yeah.
In fact, he showed me that 96% of all mutual funds fail to match the market over a 10-year period of time. Only 4% make it, and they're constantly changing.
Crazy.
So the statistic I want people to know is, if you miss the 20 best trading days in the last 20 years, just 20 days in 20 years, one day a year in 20 years, and you're wrong on timing. Mm-hmm. Your 8.2 doesn't drop to 4.5, it drops to 2%. You might as well have been owning a bond and have no have no risk.
Right.
If you miss the top 40 trading days, to give you an idea, you are minus 2%. So you got to get in the market. And if you're saying, what about my timing though? Study was done by Schwab. If you got the perfect timing for the year, the right day, the best possible day to buy, some people, the worst day, someone else dollar cost averages, this keeps spending the same amount every month, regardless of prices, and somebody stays in cash. Who has the worst return?
The guy trying to time or no?
Cash.
The cash.
You get nothing for cash.
Gotcha.
The guy who was the best had the best timing.
Got it.
The guy that was the worst, the guy that dollar cost average and the one that was on the worst day were almost identical, but after 7 years, there was only a $20,000 difference in accumulated assets between the worst day and the best day. The worst was not being in the market.
Right.
So you got to be there. And I'm not saying put everything in stocks. We teach in the book all these different assets to diversify. But stocks in the last 2 centuries have provided the highest return. So you have to have significant exposure to that if you want to get the highest return.
Got it. And what I love in the book, you say that 80% of financial success is psychological, 20% is mechanical, right?
Yes.
So it's not about timing and trying to figure all these things out and when's the best thing or the best fund or best
This is not
whatever.
about trading, it's about investing.
Exactly.
Trading is trying to do that, and most people lose money trading. Even the guys that tell you make money, see how they're making money 2 or 3 years from now. They usually eat the dust, right?
Exactly.
So yes, you've got to have the psychology, and my best way of psychology is not to pump you up. If you want to be unshakable, you want to be educated, and you want to know the facts. You want to know, look, every 5 years, I'm going to get a bear, maybe 3 years. I'm going to get a correction every year, but I'm going to be in the market and make money. Do you know that 6 of the 10 best trading days in the 20 years happened within 2 weeks of the worst trading day? So when Trump was elected, the market dropped, I think it was 800 points that night. Then at 3 or 4 in the morning, he made a speech where he was somewhat, human and normal, and the market got all its money back, and since then we're up 14% in November, December, January, in 3 months, February, 3.5 months. So people need to understand you got to be in the market because the worst days will bring you your best days.
Right.
We're probably going into a depression. We're not going to get out of this one.
Really?
Oh yeah. And so the thing is this good for you or bad for you? I'm looking forward to it. The last crash was 2008, and I made more money in 2008 than in my whole life. So this one here, 2000, what is it, 2020? I'm going to get even richer. But other people are going to get poor. And if they're baby boomers, they're going to blame it on this coronavirus. Oh, my health, hey, hit the road, put on some running shoes, change your diet, get some sunlight, get healthy. Don't be a wimp. But, oh no, I'm so afraid of dying. I'm going, you're already dead. You don't even know it yet. In the Marine Corps, we used to call them corpse people.
Right. Corpse, not core, yeah.
A corpseman. No, a corpseman. A corpseman is a person who's dead but doesn't know it.
Wow.
They're so afraid of dying, they're already dead.
Yeah. It's about taking action, taking control of your life, taking control of your health, your finances, everything.
This is the best time to be alive right now.
I did an interview with Dave Ramsey last week, and he said, the last 3 or 4 recessions or down economies, whatever you want to call it, crashes, he said, I made more money during those times than I do in good times. Yeah. So I'm hearing him say that. I'm hearing you say that. How did you make more money then, and how are you planning to turn this into an opportunity to make more money now for you? What are the things, the actual action steps? Is it investing more in the stock market? Is it real estate? Is it buying other assets? What does that look like for you?
Well, no, the lesson is here, you got to choose your teachers wisely. When the market crashed in 2008, guess how much money I borrowed?
A lot.
300 million.
No way. From
Why?
private investors, the bank, or how does that work?
Because interest rates were dropping and real estate prices were going to the toilet. And when I walk into my banker, this is what Rich Dad Poor Dad about. Rich Dad Poor Dad is about a financial statement.
Mm-hmm.
Income statement, balance sheet, statement of cash flow. It's a book on accounting. People don't even know it's a book on accounting. So I walked into my bank with my partner and had all this property that was floating to the surface. And I say, I'll take them off your hands. I just give me the money to buy the property.
Wow.
That's cojones.
300 million.
Give me the money and I'll buy your properties for you.
That's crazy.
So it depends. And this is my whole thing. I'm now 700 million, almost $1 billion in debt.
Really?
You know why? Because I don't pay any taxes. The more debt I have, the less tax I pay. And the average guy goes, how do you do that? Because you have bad teachers. And so it's this whole thing that you got to choose your teachers wisely. That's why I wrote the book, Fake money, fake teachers, fake assets. I don't touch that garbage that Wall Street puts out. I don't have a 401k. I don't have stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. Doesn't mean you shouldn't, but I don't need them. Okay?
Right.
And the other part is, look, for you young guys, the best teachers are not in colleges. The best teachers are on YouTube. The best teachers are on YouTube. Wake Up. You know, those guys, George Gammon, he's fantastic. Patrick Bet-David, fantastic. You know,
he's great.
Jim Rickards. The fake teachers are in colleges. They're telling you to get a job.
Right.
Up the corporate ladder. You know, Patrick Bet-David said it the best, and I love that guy. He says there's two kinds of leaders, wartime and peacetime. And a peacetime leader is a guy like my poor dad. He goes through all the right schools. He has all the pedigrees, the credentials. He does all the right things. He climbs the corporate or the government ladder and all that. Where a wartime leader goes to war. So Steve Jobs is a wartime leader. I'm a wartime leader. Difference is I went to war. I went to war twice on the front lines.
Yeah.
And I changed. What happened? So I joined the Marine Corps. I go to flight school in Pensacola. I learned to fly. I go to Camp Pendleton. I strap on my weapons. I go to advanced weapons in Camp Pendleton. I go to Okinawa, and then they send me into Vietnam. And I came out of Vietnam about 4 months later, back to restage in Okinawa. And I thought everybody had changed. I looked at the fellow Marines, and I thought they were. And it wasn't that they were. I had been to war.
You got tougher. You got stronger.
It's different. When somebody's trying to kill you, every single mission, I went down 3 times.
No way.
Yeah. And I came back stronger and tougher. So I come back to Okinawa. I got like a week off, and they're going to ship me back into Vietnam again. I said, what happened to these guys? And it wasn't that they changed, I changed. So what happens to entrepreneurs who go out and they get their ass handed to them and they survive? If you survive, you see the world differently. And so that's what happened to you when you get injured and all this.
Yeah.
You see a different world. Whereas some peacetime who's climbing the corporate ladder right now, they just lost their job. They're sucking their thumb. You know, this is the worst time for them. Yet for a wartime leader,
they're excited. They're excited about it. Yeah.
It's the best of times.
Yeah.
If you're an entrepreneur right now, the world's open to you. If you're an employee, your world's dead to you.
What advice? Yeah.
An entrepreneur can create their own success.
Yeah. What advice? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Needs a job. They're a peacetime warrior. Remember, watch Patrick Bet-David. You know,
he's great.
Leader, peacetime leader. Which one are you? You know, I mean, no, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is the best of times for the wartime guys. Horrible time for peacetime.
Right. And for the people that are the wartime people, what is the best advice you would give them now for the next year or 2 years to capitalize on? How do they make more money? How do they make their millions during this time? What would you suggest?
You can't make money now. You should hang it up. I tell all you frickin' millennials, man. You got, I don't know where it is. I got this iPhone. If you can't make money with that, hang it up. You know, like we used to say, hang up the jockstrap. You're not going to make the team. You can't make money with an iPhone through social media, through marketing. You have the world at your fingertips and you can't make money. The problem is between this ear and this ear. It's not out here, it's in here. That's why you've got to choose your teachers wisely.
Yeah.
You know, so let me just say it again. The best teachers are on YouTube. So is the best porno. Take up your mind, make up your mind what you want to listen to. You know what I mean? We have a choice. So I'm just being real to you.
I hear you, man.
No.
I hear you. What's the best investment people can make then to capitalize on this opportunity? Is the investment in education?
Left ear. Look, if you're poor right now, it was called look in the mirror. That's what my dad always said to me. Says, if you're looking in the mirror right now and you see a loser, that's what you are. You can't make money in this economy. You better change your thinking. Hindsight is 20/20, as I say.
Yes.
If you're looking at, you don't have any money, you don't have a job, your boyfriend or girlfriend has left you, and sitting there goes, well, how did I get here? How did I get here? There was a great book called, Gulag Archipelago by Solzhenitsyn. So he gets thrown in a concentration camp or a gulag in Siberia, and he says, "How did I get here?" You know how he got there? Because he was a peacetime leader. Didn't fight back. So people are being sold to go to school, get a job, pay taxes, save money, get out of debt, buy a house. The house is an asset, and invest for the long term in a well-defined portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. And I do none of that.
And why do you recommend the opposite?
Because I don't have to do that crap. That's Kool-Aid. Go to school. What do they teach you about money? Nothing. Get a job. You pay the highest taxes. Pay your taxes. I don't pay taxes. Get out of debt. Well, money is debt after 1971, if you know your history of money. Your house is not an asset. Your house is a liability. And why would I invest for the long term in the stock market when I can make my own assets? I don't need the stock market. I'm not saying you shouldn't. But I create my own assets. I create my own cash flow. Every day I can.
You mean through your business, through your creativity.
I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Most people are employees. They're looking for jobs. I'm just looking for. So like right now.
Should entrepreneurs invest in the stock market? Do you think if you're entrepreneurial, you should invest in?
Look, find a stupid teacher who's going to tell you what to do.
I'm asking your opinion. I'm curious as a teacher.
I don't give advice. I wouldn't follow Warren Buffett either. You know why? Because he invests the money. Why would I let him invest my money? I want the fun.
So what's the investment you make the most in?
Look, please hear what I'm saying.
Yes.
I made a fortune in 2008. 2020, I'm making more money. I'm paying less taxes. It doesn't mean I don't have problems, but I'm prepared for this. My biggest problem right now is because everybody's taking a vacation. I can't get enough product. I'm selling out. My cash flow game is sold out. It's selling out constantly all over the world. All over the world, I get royalties from my book sales. My book sales are going through the roof right now. So I'm making more money.
Information, yeah.
There's two kinds of discipline. There's internal or self-discipline, and then there's external discipline. So right now, if the world's kicking your butt, that's external discipline. And if you're self-disciplined, the world's kissing your butt right now. It's up to you. So that's why I love the Marine Corps. That's why I love going to military school and not a university, because I got my ass kicked every single frickin' day. The first word I had to learn at the academy, mission. Mission is spiritual. What's your mission? And my mission has always been to serve people. Most people, all they give a fuck is making money and screwing people. That's called the Federal Reserve Bank, Wall Street, and all that. I want nothing to do with them. So I just don't play their game. But you have to get smarter not to play their game. So that's why YouTube has the best teachers. This guy, George Gammon, man, he's a great teacher. Patrick Beck-David, fantastic teacher. Cardone, fantastic teachers. So choose your teachers wisely. That's all. That's what I say, because I had to choose between my rich dad and my poor dad.
Mm-hmm.
My poor dad, PhD, poor, helpless, and desperate. And that's what he wanted me to do when I came back from Vietnam, was get my master's degree, get my PhD, and fly for the airlines. If I had done that, my friends who flew for United, they're broke. You know why they're broke? Because Wall Street stole their pensions.
Mm.
It's called an ESOP, Employee Stock Option Plan. The biggest crisis coming up right now after this pandemic is pensions are going to crash. That's right. You got it, man.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Why are they going to crash?
Because they're empty. Wall Street looted them. My God, wake up. Wake up. There's a better book than that. It's called The Creature from Jekyll Island by G. Edward Griffin. It's a big book. Get it on audiobook and listen to it. A couple of 10 minutes a night or something. The Federal Reserve has only one purpose, is to keep the rich rich. That's their only job. So every time the market crashes, as you notice, money pumps in. They pump the market. They pump the prices up. The rich exit, and the poor and middle class who listen to Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman, and their advice is good for the middle class. Don't get me wrong. They're told to invest for the long term. Okay, so what's happening to the poor and middle class with their 401k and IRA right now are set? That's like saying, okay, put the handcuffs on the Titanic. It's going down. Meanwhile, the rich have got their G5 flying in to pick them up and get off the boat. They're out.
Right.
Because the problem isn't in the stock market. The problem's in the repo market, corporate credit market, the consumer commercial paper market. They don't tell you that. They don't teach you that in school. So suddenly, voila, in September, the shadow banking, which is corporate credit, and the commercial paper and the corporate credit and commercial paper market started to go bad in September. Oh, suddenly, pandemic. Oh, that was interesting. Funny how that appeared, So I'm not saying the pandemic isn't real. I'm saying the real crisis, it's a smokescreen for the real crisis going on right now. They're stealing your wealth through your pensions, your 401k, your IRA, through Social Security, through your taxes, through Medicare. That's why we have socialism kicking in right now. We have Bernie Sanders and AOC and Elizabeth Warren, hardcore socialists. But if you can see, if you really have a financial education, we're going from capitalists, which I am, and nothing wrong with a socialist. There are some people, 20% of the people need to be given money because they're that unable, for whatever reason, they're not able to. So we should give some people money, but not everybody. Mm-hmm. So we're going from capitalism to Bernie Sanders socialism and Hillary and all those guys. And then we're actually going to communism. And you can see it right now because Boeing is asking for a bailout and all these guys asking for bailouts. But this time the Fed's going to take percentage ownership.
Really?
Yes, that's communism, central control of the economy. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it's coming. But that's what they should teach us in school. And our school teachers, most of them are socialists, and some of them are communists. They want the government to tell us what to do. They're really fascist. They're really fascist. A fascist wants to tell you what to do. So you look at this stuff, what's it called? Social distancing. Mm-hmm. That's, you're taking away the First Amendment, the right to assemble. PC, political correctness, is freedom of speech. Okay? That's what's going on. And then they're printing money under all this scheme. So if you study real world PC-ness, we've lost our freedom of speech. That's what Stalin took away. And social distancing is the right to assembly, which is why there was a Revolutionary War back in 1776. The Americans had to go hide in a church because the British would kill them if they were caught assembling. Wow. History repeats. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but most people aren't taught this.
Yeah.
That's why I love going to military school versus university.
They teach you a lot of history, probably.
We're taught military history.
Mm-hmm.
History is bullshit. To the victor goes history. So the person that wins the war writes history to justify their position today.
Oh.
It's called his story. As the loser doesn't get to tell their story.
That's funny.
So anyway, that's where we're at. And
yeah,
I just leave it to your generation. You guys are in the best position ever because you're still young. You're tech savvy, and the baby boomers aren't. So they're old. A lot of them are feeble, and they're gone. We're gone. So you guys have the world ahead of you.
And use this time to be creative and
yes.
take action and be bold. And I think I saw something about in 2008 to 2010, some of the greatest companies or the biggest companies of today were started then. Airbnb, Uber,
hey.
All these other companies.
Bitcoin. 2009.
Wow.
See, I love Bitcoin.
What's your thoughts on cryptocurrency? Why do you love Bitcoin?
Listen, Bitcoin is open source. The Fed can't touch it.
You don't like the Fed?
The creature from Jekyll Island, the Fed. The Fed is not a bank. It's a cartel owned by the richest guys on earth. Okay, you guys just wake up, So anyway, the Fed is a cartel. So when I saw Bitcoin come out, it's open source. It's people's money. Gold and silver are God's money. So my whole objective is I go through my system of business, but I'm buying gold and silver. I store it in other countries legally because you can't just move that stuff. You have to move it legally and declare it. Mm-hmm. So I move my money illegally. I want to get out of this country. So I keep my wealth outside this country, not because of my government. It's because there's so many people, you're going to see lawsuits are going to go up because people are desperate. They don't have any money. So when the economy gets bad, that's why, have you been in an accident? Have you been hurt? I'll come out and sue them for you. So if you don't have the right corporate entity like LLCs, C corporations, S corporations, offshore accounts, money's going to be stolen. It's the real game. Okay, your pensions, watch, in a few years, he did tell us our pensions are gone. You know what's going to happen? They're going to bail them out again. Because if you read this book here, The Creature, it says bailout is the name of the game. Back in the 80s, there was a guy named Neil Bush. Let's see, the Bush family. George, Silverado Savings. When Neil Bush got in trouble, George bailed him out.
What have you found are the top places that people should be investing?
Well, I think first you start with what are the most important things that you're closest to, like, is it your business? First, calculate how many days, weeks, months, or years you can live on your saving. Because when you do that, you'll gain security. You'll gain that. Okay. So look at how much you're spending. Okay. And then say, how much do I need? And whatever that number is, you're going to need more than that because it may go down rather than go up. So, okay, now do I have a year's spending? Okay. So I think you start there. Then you start to think, what are the things that are most important for me? And then you start with your business or your residence that have a symbiotic relationship and that well. Let's say if you start with your business, okay, you're closer to that, investing in yourself with whatever that may end up being. That may be your best investment.
Not okay. Real estate, not stocks, not the market.
Well, it depends. If you're not, if you're doing something where you can do it yourself, and that's the thing. But if you're in a job and that's not the thing,
right?
Because you're in a different position. Okay. But anyway, and then I really think there's something good about your home, a basic thing about your home, because it's nice forced savings. And it also means that you fix it up. You're saving, you find out there's, oh, well, if I add this thing or that thing, and you're enjoying it. Mm-hmm. So when you're enjoying it and you're controlling it and it's yours and so on, that's pretty good. And if they keep mortgage tax deductions and so on, there might be some benefits to it also. Okay. But that's not a black and white answer. So you could take a sharp pencil and say, is it better to rent or buy? Okay, that's a different question. Maybe yes, but by and large, am I going to move? All of those other questions. But so when you start with, okay, what is it that's close to home and how much? You need a certain amount that's liquid. In other words, you got it in your house, you got to make a mortgage payment or something, and all of a sudden you're, it's not liquid and you lose your job. Well, that can cause you trouble. So how much do I have that's liquid? How much do I have that's not liquid? Okay. And you start to get those things right. Okay. I've got enough liquid. I got enough, okay, not liquid in those other things. Okay. Pretty soon you're getting yourself in good shape.
Yeah.
You do those things, you're pretty much in good shape. And then you're also having some experiences, and then you go beyond that, and then, so you start to, okay, what's a stock? What's a bond? And then, you learn through experiences. I learned through my experiences. I started when I was a kid, 12. I used to caddy, and I took my caddying money and I put it in the stock market. And I was lucky. What happened to me, by the way, is I took my caddying money and I bought the only company that I ever heard of that was selling for less than $5 a share. And I thought that I was really dumb. I thought I'll buy more shares, so if it goes up, I'll make more money. And it was the only company. It was a company that was about to go broke, but some other company acquired it and it tripled. And I thought, this is an easy game. And I like it, easy money. So, but you experiment and you learn.
You're a very philanthropic individual. You and your wife, your foundation, your company, you give back in a lot of ways. Some might be through donations like computers, some might be through financial, some might be through just your work and your content on LinkedIn, which is amazing. I recommend everyone subscribe to you on LinkedIn. The content there is amazing. You're giving back in lots of ways. I'm curious, what's the greatest gift a rich person or someone with money can give someone who doesn't have money?
To give the knowledge, teach a man how to fish is better than to give him a fish. I mean, I think you can give them both. You can give education and you can, but ability, the capacity to be productive, because, if I can give you the capacity to go out in the world, it's like go into a jungle. I give you a knife and can you live in the jungle? Okay. If I give you that capacity, that's the best thing I can give you. That's why I wrote the book and, pass it on. I wrote those principles over years and I wrote them down, and that's what I want to pass along. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
But if you've got money, you can help people a lot in a lot of different ways, which is thrilling.
What would you say then are the three greatest skills that people that aren't financially abundant or that are struggling financially should learn to master in order to be in a better position financially? 3 skills, what would you say they should learn?
Well, as I said before, I remember watching the movie, I was young, David Copperfield with W.C. Fields, and he speaks to David Copperfield, and he said something like, and I'll put it in dollar terms, you earn $100 and you spend $105, that's misery. If you earn $100 and you spend $95, you'll have a good life. I mean, it wasn't exactly like that, but it was, but basically, I know so many people who don't earn much, but are there. Because if you start to think about what it is that it costs you to live in terms of, let's say, the basics. You know, give me a bed to sleep in, give me the food, let me be educated, and so on and so forth. I think most people can get themselves in a position where, you know, they're net positive.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can be net positive and you could do that, you know, that's number one, as I carry that. So that's, you know, that's number one. Then I guess it was the list that we went to. You know, the second is, you know, what do you do next in terms of what do you need? What do you invest in?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then, you know, going beyond it. And then avoid the following mistake, the most common mistake of investing, thinking that the investment that did good is a good investment. People rather more expensive. The things that quite often, those markets that did really, really well became more expensive, and everybody, smart money is all the time comparing them and competing. So what happens is the naive money buys the thing that was hot or is hot. The thing that has been terrible, which might be the thing that's beaten down. So I would say also an important element. Okay, so here's another one that's really important. Diversify.
So don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right, because what I learned about this is that, first of all investments compete. And it's not easy to tell whether one investment is better than the other, because if people could do that, life would be easy and everybody would make a ton of money. And this is a competitive game that's very difficult to compete in. So it's very difficult to say which one's better or worse. You could take experts and you could and do all sorts of tests, and you'll find out that they can pick that, and you can't tell whether the worst ones are going to be better. So because of that, you understand that even picking the best ones is difficult, and particularly if you're naive. Like, we spend hundreds of millions of dollars each year on research to try to give us an edge.
Wow.
Okay. Now you've got to compete with us. So competing in the markets is more difficult than competing in the Olympics. You wouldn't go think I'm going to compete in the Olympics, but there are more people who try harder in order to do that. So it's a zero-sum game. So, but diversification, that they're different, will reduce your risk without reducing your return.
Yeah.
So if you know how to diversify well, so that's critical. So I would say, again, get your savings right. And the reasons I say, I would say, have great humility about what you don't know. Don't buy the thing that was hot. Don't just because you think it's hot. And then know how to diversify well.
What I do with my financial system is I set a target each year. This is how much money I'm going to save and invest. And those numbers are aggressive. That's a lot of money.
You're going hard.
Yeah, like
So
every year.
10%, 30%?
Yeah, so anywhere between those ranges. And we have folks who...
Of what
actually,
you earn.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then remember, whenever I make any unexpected income, let's say I did a speaking gig or something. Yeah, I might get myself I might go out to dinner, but the rest I'm just putting straight in investments.
Wow.
Okay, so that money grows aggressively. And I also want to remind everybody, especially the entrepreneurs watching. I know you have a lot of entrepreneurs. You wouldn't believe how many entrepreneur friends I know who have a good business and they don't invest at all. And that's a huge mistake.
What should you be investing in if you have a good business?
Simple, low-cost, target date funds is a great way to go. Entrepreneurs...
So index funds?
Yeah, index funds.
Yeah.
They get a little too smart for their own good. They say, I could just put that money in my business. And I always say, look, I'm glad you have a business that's throwing off tons of cash. That's awesome. Most businesses don't last 80 years.
Yeah.
So be smart. Give yourself a small plan B. Put $5K a month, $10K a month, whatever's appropriate for your level of success. And hey, maybe your business does really well. That's awesome. But maybe one day something goes wrong. Always want to be prepared. You never want to have your back against the wall. So I just want to encourage everybody, whether you're making 250K or 2.5 million for the high earners here, Don't get too smart for your own good. Keep investing and saving.
What are the 3 or 4 main things you invest in with that 10 to 30% a year?
Yeah.
And does it change year to year?
Yeah, I'll kind of walk you through for the high earners, and then we can
Yes.
talk about people 100K and less. So once you have a certain amount of capital, you do have a few opportunities that you probably didn't have before. Everybody has this idea that, you know, the rich have all these crazy tax breaks and captive insurance and this and that. And I've looked into all that stuff, right? I know
building
about
insurance companies and all these other things, right? Yeah.
Here's the truth. The truth is,
Some stuff is a little sketchy, but yeah.
definitely. And I'll say my core values are that when it comes to things like taxes,
I love your principle on this.
I'm very conservative. I'm like, dude, only in this country could I have been this successful.
I love this mindset. Yeah.
I'm happy to pay my taxes. It means that I had the opportunity to create something great. And if I pay an extra $5,000 or $30,000, it doesn't change my life at all. And I want to be able to give back to the society that enabled me to do what I do.
That's a powerful mindset. And it gets you away from, you still want to optimize tax breaks that are out there, but it gets you away from trying to constantly look for some of the shortcuts or like schemes or something.
Yes, I've always found that the people, especially entrepreneurs who talk about tax breaks all the time, are typically the most unsuccessful ones.
Wow.
2 reasons. 1, why are you talking about tax breaks instead of growing your business?
Yeah.
And 2, it's a very scarcity driven mindset. Ooh, I only have this much that I have to protect, when really you can just grow the pie and your taxes are simply a proportion.
Just make more.
Just make more. Now, yes, you do want to optimize and take advantage of all legal tax breaks. So as you earn more, you do have more opportunities. You have not only your 401k, you have all kinds of advanced IRA options. You have HSAs. You have a variety of things. But at a certain point, if you're making enough, you're going to max all of those out.
Yep.
Okay.
So what do you do when you max it all out?
So then the next step is to simply create a taxable account. It's just a typical non-retirement account, just at Vanguard or where I use Vanguard, whatever you want. And you just continue to invest. So that's one, and that's going to keep making you money over the long term. It's just you're not going to get those tax breaks from a 401k, an IRA, et cetera. The other thing is, as you accumulate more and more assets, you're going to start to notice a lot of different people are going to come with opportunities. I get text messages from these crazies. They're like, hey, I'm opening up a bar in Brooklyn. I'm like, I don't want your stupid bar. I'm not investing in that. I could burn my cash easier. But you're going to want, as you start to accumulate a lot, you're going to want to have a little fun with your money when it comes to investing. So some people want to do crypto. I think a lot of these people are complete nut jobs.
It's crazy,
okay?
man.
Look, you crypto.
I put a little bit in there just to like have fun, but I was like, thank goodness I didn't put more in there because everyone's losing their money now.
Exactly. And they're all, okay, I don't even want to get into crypto because I'm going to get a lot of angry emails. Hey, if you want to email me about your angry crypto opinions, just send it to trash@iwillteachyoutoberich.com. Don't send it to me. But you know what? I like what you said. You took a little bit, you had some fun.
Yeah, had some fun.
5 to 10%, once you've got all your other stuff automated, you've got your index funds locked down, HSA, your different accounts. I don't have any problem. I think you should take 5 to 10% and you should have some fun with it. For me, I did angel investing and I basically learned that I suck.
Yeah,
my angel investing is not good.
I haven't made any money from investments.
My deal flow sucks. My choices were okay. Some hit, most didn't. I basically just wrote that money off. But it was fun and it allowed me to have an outlet.
And you learned. And
I learned.
You got to meet people and
Yeah. So if you want to do crypto, if you want to invest in somebody's bar, you want to do angel investing, if you're qualified, etc., be my guest. But don't jump to that first. Get all your stuff automated. And at a certain point, the compounding is so insane. You will start to actually earn more from your investments than you will from your income, even if you're making $500K a year.
From the index funds you're talking about, if you're investing in that. What if the market's going down or up? Should you even worry about that? Let's say you put $500,000 in.
Yeah.
It went up 100,000 over a couple of years, but then it went back to the original investment. Should you be like, oh my gosh, I need to take this out?
Do not do that. I'll give you a real example.
I just put 2 years of my money into this and it's still the same amount. I should have just left it in the bank.
No, you shouldn't have left it in the bank. All right. So this happened to me just about 2 weeks ago. So the market went down and I hardly ever log. I log in about once a month to my investments.
Just to see like,
yeah. And really, you should not be checking your investments.
Check every 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Once a month is good. And like, you're not a day trader.
Yeah.
Okay. So I happened to log in and I saw that in the 11 days of that month, in one of my accounts, I had lost $75,000. Okay. So for everybody listening, how would you react if you lost $75,000 in 11 days?
Most people would be freaked out.
They'd be freaked out. They would pull
Take
their
the money out.
Yeah, which is exactly the opposite of what you should do. So everyone says this common thing and they just roll their eyes. Oh, buy low, sell high. But in reality, they actually buy high and sell low. So you know what I did? I did nothing. I logged in. I felt no emotion. It wasn't like my life is over. It was like watching someone offer me concrete to eat. Like I felt nothing. I'm like, nah, it's fine, whatever. I just closed the window. The key there is every month, my system is automatically investing. It's called dollar cost averaging. It's just automatically investing. And you should set the same thing up too. You shouldn't be paying attention manually. You shouldn't be sending a check. It just works automatically. And so I knew this month, the market is down. And if you think about any other thing you buy, if the price of toothpaste goes down, you're happy. If the price of milk goes down, you're happy. The only time we get weird is when the price of the market goes down and then we're like, oh, let me pull all my money out. Bad move. The price went down. If you're young and you have a long time before you need the money, you're getting the market at a discount. You should
get excited.
You should get excited. So I just said, great, it went down, fine, doesn't bother me. And I just closed the window. And a few days later, my system will just purchase it again. So if it's up, it's down, it doesn't matter in the short term. But over the long term, we know that the market tends to return about 7 to 8% over time.
Yeah.
But it can go up, it can go down. And so you do not want to be paying attention in the short term.
Let's say you've got $500,000 to $1 million extra cash laying around. You've maxed out all your IRAs. You've got 5 to 10 grand a month going to your index funds. You've dabbled in the smaller investments and startups, and you've done it all.
Yeah,
you've got a little bit in crypto. You've tried everything. What should you do with that extra $1 million a year?
Okay, great question. First off, this is like somebody saying to a fitness instructor, you know, I've done everything. What should I do next? And that, you know what that fitness instructor is going to say? They're going to say, when you say everything, what do you really mean? Like, show me. Are you doing foam rolling? Are you doing this? Are you all balanced? For the person who's doing this, I'm going to give you your answer, but I'm going to first say, are you sure? Have you planned out? So you know that 10 years from now, you're going to buy a house. Do you have a 20% down payment set aside? I do. And I have no plans to buy a house anytime soon, but I have 20% set aside for a house.
For that moment, yeah.
Yeah, for when. So I already plan for what I know is coming, even though I have no interest in it today. What about the first year of your kid's life? Do you have that set aside? What about XYZ? Are you taking care of your parents when they get older? One thing that I really love to do is talk about relationships. So I love to invite my family once a year for a big, big vacation where we can all stay in a house and there's like a chef and all this stuff, and we can all be there and the kids can be playing. Is that something that's important to you?
That's cool.
Right? So plan for that. Now, if you've done all that stuff, you got your 6-month emergency fund, you've got your investments automated on autopilot, and you still have money left over, you're in an awesome position. And now you can do a couple of things. One, if you want to keep growing that money, you can simply invest it in a non-retirement taxable account. And that money will grow like crazy. If you're putting in 10, 20K a month, that money will turn into massive amounts. And you can, if you guys don't believe me, just go search for compound interest calculator. Bankrate has a really good one, and plug in 20K a month for 10 years. And that's it. Just stop and watch what happens as that money grows.
7 or 8%?
Yeah, at 7% returns, and watch what happens.
Right.
It becomes like a tsunami. You cannot stop it. So that's one. The other thing is, if you want to invest in a little bit of fun stuff, if you're like, hey, I want to take 10% of this and invest in like this crazy investment, my buddy's starting a thing, go ahead. Just be prepared to write it off. Maybe it works, maybe not. And then from there, you should also remember a third thing, and nobody really talks about this. Maybe it's time to increase your quality of life. Maybe instead of staying in the middle back seat, it's time to upgrade to the exit row.
Right. Or business class.
Business class. Or maybe it's time to eat at a different restaurant. Maybe it's time to really think about your money dial and say, hey, I always claim that wellness is important, and yet I'm still eating like the same old thing I used to eat 10 years ago. Maybe it's time to upgrade what I eat and where I work out and all that kind of stuff, my gear. You can do that. Yeah. You've made it. You already won the basic game. So now you get to benefit from it.
What about real estate? Because a lot of people, I hear people that are all in on real estate investment, or they're kind of like all in on the market.
I think that real estate, so a lot of people are going to hate me after I say this. I know you guys have all been told since you were like 2 years old, real estate's the best investment ever. And it turns out that's not really true. A couple of things that might surprise you.
If you're buying one home.
If you're buying a house and living in it.
If you're buying multiple units or buying multiple homes and that's your business, it might be a better investment.
Correct. Let me make the distinction. So most people in America are told that the American life, the American dream is graduate from college, get married, buy a house, white picket fence, 2.5 kids, and you made it. And I think we all just have to look at people who are a little bit older than us to realize that might not be our American dream. We might want to travel more. We might want to work remotely. I mean, here we are in the middle of a weekday, chit-chatting and sharing it with millions of people. This is our dream. So I want to challenge people to really question what you've been taught. That's number one. Number two, most people who buy a house and live in it think that it is the best investment. But most people have never run
like my
the
piggy
numbers.
bank.
Yeah, they think that. They don't understand that when you spend money on a house, you've incurred tons of phantom costs. You have taxes, you have maintenance, you have all kinds of things that you don't count. And if you actually factor all those numbers in, real estate often, in fact, many times, is not a great investment at all. It's a place to live, and you have these phrases like you're throwing money away on rent. It's not true. Your landlord's making a profit, otherwise they wouldn't do it. That's not true. Your landlord can't charge you whatever they want. They can only charge you what the market will bear.
Yeah.
So if you search my name in real estate, you'll see all the numbers played out. Now, on the other hand, if you are a real estate investor and you're disciplined, that's a different story, and that can be effective. But mom and pop who are thinking that they bought their house in 1970 for $200,000 and now it's worth $600,000, they think they made $400,000. Actually not. If they had taken that money and put it in the market, they would probably have much, much more.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And less headache.
Way less headache.
Well, depending if they looked at their investment every week, maybe they'd be more stressed up the level it's going up and down. But.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and listen, I will buy a house one day. Okay. So I don't want anyone to think that I'm telling you never to buy a house.
Yeah.
If you want to rent for the rest of your life, you absolutely can. Many people in New York, San Francisco, and other high cost of living
LA,
cities, they rent. There's no shame in that. I rent by choice. I could buy a place tomorrow, cash, and I choose to rent.
Why do you choose to rent? After you've been here for 10 years and you've been renting the whole time.
Yeah, on purpose.
And how much is that, do you think? Over $500,000.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot of money. I rent a nice place.
Yeah.
Why do I do it? Because...
Could have used that money in something else. You could have put it in...
I did. I put it in the market and I made more. And
because you didn't put it into a home.
Correct.
Where it was a lot more money up front.
It was more money up front. I used that money instead. I put in the market. But there's also other reasons too. I couldn't get for the amount I'm paying where I live. If I were to buy a place in the same building or area, it would be 4 times more expensive. So that's the first. Second is maintenance. I'm gonna give you an example. I woke up one day and the doorman was knocking on my door. It's like 8:30 in the morning on a Saturday. He's like, sir, do you mind if we come in and take a look at something? I said, okay. And we go into the living room and there's a pool of water just sitting there.
In your apartment?
Yeah. It had dripped down 3 levels. So I was like, oh my God. They're like, sir, go back to sleep. We'll take care of it. That day they came, they repaired the floors, not just of mine, the ceilings for the next 2 levels down. That's probably likely to have costed them, let's just say $50K, maybe $100K because it's Manhattan and it's a weekend service. Who knows? That's not my fee.
You didn't pay for it.
No. And I said, great, that's their problem. I'm going back to sleep, man. I got another hour of sleep here. So I want everyone, you don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe what someone else does. All you need to do is run the numbers. That is my only suggestion to you. Go to a buy versus rent calculator. Make sure you plug in all the fees, not just the taxes, the realtor fee. If you get a bigger place, you're probably going to get more furniture for it.
The HOAs or the lawn maintenance or trash service or
all
whatever
that.
it is. Yeah.
The key thing, I think, whether it's a house or investments, my point to you guys is take your money seriously. Once you take your money seriously and you put some time in it, whether it's this book or wherever you want to get your information, you're going to be better off for it. You don't want to delegate this to somebody else. I want you to understand it. And once you understand it and you automate it, and you make a few good choices in life, you never have to worry about lattes or appetizers again.
How'd you make the emotional shift when you started renting an expensive apartment and you're like, man, if I added all this up after a year, that's close to a down payment on a nice house in the Midwest, or maybe I can buy a whole house in the Midwest, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you emotionally rationalize that where you're not frustrated like, oh gosh, I just spent 10 years throwing this money away? Because sometimes I feel that way. Sometimes like, man, I just spent a lot of money these last few years.
Well, let me ask you this.
But I like the freedom and the flexibility of not having to incur all those other
What do you like to eat? You like strawberries?
No.
Okay, what do you like to eat?
Some good steak and veggies.
Okay, steak. When you buy a steak and you eat it, do you feel like you just threw your money away on that steak?
No, I enjoyed it.
But where is it? I don't see it. Where's my investment?
Right.
In fact, isn't it coming out in the toilet in a couple hours?
It is, yeah.
So what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
You get value out of a steak just like you get value out of renting. Now, if you want to incidentally build equity, that's great. But remember, you can also lose equity. Right now in Manhattan, do you know rents are down?
Is it?
Yes, and so are prices of houses if you want to buy. They're going down every month.
Wow.
A lot of people are like, oh my God, it's so expensive. Sometimes, but sometimes it goes down 5%, 10%. Some of these neighborhoods are down 15%.
No way.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't realize. In fact, I did a survey of my readers. I said, do you think it's possible for real estate to decrease? Over half of people said no. They had never even thought about it. So I want
Remember
people...
2008, 2009?
Memories are short. You would think they would remember, but they don't. I heard
Right.
people, dude, they had 3 houses. They bought it. They were destroyed financially. Their credit was ruined. They had to give up these houses and their identity as an investor. And 3 years later, they're like, I think I want to buy another couple of houses.
Wow.
It just goes to show, I'm not saying they're stupid. It's not that at all, because a lot of people have gone through this. It's the idea that the propaganda to buy a house or to follow a prescribed set of rules for the American dream is so powerful that even losing your own houses doesn't change people's perspective.
So how do you teach people to overcome the emotional rationalization of blowing their money on rent?
Okay. It's funny.
Besides that story you just told, which
Yeah.
helps me.
I'll tell you what, I want to acknowledge that it's real because
It's a fear that people live with.
yeah, and I'll give you an example. Like, I call it the handshake effect. And it's when people would come over to my apartment and for the first time, and they would say, wow, this is an amazing view. And then they always say the same thing in New York. Do you own this place? And we're like shaking hands, right? It's like we just
away.
met.
How much you pay on
Yeah,
this
how much you
place?
pay? What? It's classic New York. And I say, no, I rent. And it's that moment where if I had said I bought, they would be like this. Wow, yeah, it's
pretty
really
impressive.
cool, really cool, yeah. And you kind of get this
Pride,
this
this
pride,
thing, yeah.
And then when I don't say that, they get really confused because this is the "I will teach you to be rich" guy, but also he rents, and I thought renting is for people who can't afford it, but they don't understand, and they give me this look, and I realized that so many of us are looking for somebody to approve of us while we are shaking their hand, someone we don't even know.
Wow.
And so instead of getting your approval from somebody you just met 10 minutes ago, or from your parents who probably are not the most sophisticated investors, if you're watching this show, you know you talk about greatness. And being great means choosing your own path. Sometimes you might choose to buy. I have no problem with that if you ran the numbers and you consciously decided. Sometimes it means you don't. But if you want to live the life of greatness, you need to be comfortable making different choices than what other people expect.
Zing. I like it, man.
You say don't be a saver, be an investor. Should people be investing even during these times if they're not comfortable doing that? Or this is the greatest time to invest is what I'm hearing you say because of the opportunity.
Why would you save?
Fear.
No, but that worked before 1971. They printed 4.5 trillion after 2008. They estimate they're going to print another 6 to 8 trillion, maybe 10 trillion.
Wow.
After 2020. At the same time, they're going to pay zero interest rate policy. So you're saving money while the Fed's printing money, and they're going to pay you no interest on it. Why would you save it? So that's all I say. And so that's why when Susie talks about saving and Dave talks about saving, I wouldn't do that. But for the average person, they should do that. So that's why choose your teachers wisely.
Right.
You just have to know money. That's all.
Yeah. And what's your prediction with real estate over the next few years? Do you think it's going to keep going down now, or do you think it's like in LA? I feel like it hasn't gone down at all. It's like the place continues to grow, but eventually it's got to, right?
I wouldn't invest in LA for one reason: taxes.
Mm-hmm.
I just wouldn't. That's your choice. People say it's a nice place to live, and it is. But I don't like paying taxes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't move there. Plus, you have what's called they try to pull it. I forget the name of it, but you can't raise the rent. Some people. So I don't like
rent control. Yeah.
Great place to live. great lifestyle. But we're going to have the biggest crash. We're going to a depression right now. We're going right past recession into a depression.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You can't have every business closing. And the stock market is going up. But like I said, the real problem's in the repo or the shadow banking market. That's what they're trying to save because it's broke. They're going bankrupt in there. So the dollar is going to be strong because 80% of the debt is measured in US dollars. So everybody needs dollars to pay off their debt. Okay. But in the meantime, the guys for a week, their houses are going to come up for sale, their Lamborghini, their real estate. I wouldn't touch commercial real estate. I mean, office buildings. Office buildings, they're gone.
No one can go work anymore. The people are working from home for a while, or whatever.
They're gone. Now, I go to South Africa a lot. In South Africa, the office buildings became low-income housing.
Whoa.
That's the future. You know those homeless people? Century City, here they come.
Yeah, I know. I gotta get out of here now.
I'm just think different. That's all.
Yeah.
That was Steve Jobs' thing. Think different.
Yeah. I got a few final questions for you. I really appreciate you sharing and giving us this tough love, which I think a lot of people need right now.
I'm not politically correct.
It's all good. We all need different teachers, and I appreciate your perspective. This is a question I ask everyone towards the end of their conversations. I call it the 3 truths. It's a hypothetical question, but I'd like for you to imagine for a moment that many years from now, it's your last day on this earth, and you've accomplished everything. You've accomplished all the things you want in your personal life, your dreams. It's all happened. But for whatever reason, hypothetically, you got to take all of your work with you, your books, your content, your board games, all the teachings you've ever given to the world. It goes with you. And you got to leave only 3 lessons behind for the rest of us to learn from. What would you say would be your 3 lessons, or what I like to call 3 truths?
Well, I think the most important lesson is probably, I think I said this way, my rich guy said all the time. My rich dad always said, knowledge is finite. Stupidity is infinite. So stay stupid.
That's a great truth.
Because that's how you get knowledge. But he used to always say that to me because my dad always hid behind his diploma, PhD. He didn't know anything. Most school teachers don't know much. When people ask me about the Fed, what is the Fed? I said, have you ever watched The Wizard of Oz? And they go, yeah. Well, you know how Dorothy and the Tin Man and the Lion and the Straw Man, they went down the yellow brick road. They were hoping to find the wizard. And the wizard was going to give the lion a heart or Dorothy, whatever she wanted and all this stuff. And when they get to the wizard or the Fed, there was a midget behind it. There was nothing behind it. That's the Fed. That's the PhD. They're hiding behind this thing called diploma. That's obsolete. And so that's the second lesson. Be careful who your teachers are. Make sure your teacher actually practices what they teach. So my tax guy is Tom Wheelwright. His book is Tax-Free Wealth. You really want to stop paying taxes? Get that book. It's $20. You'll probably save a couple of $1 million over your lifetime. But if you don't change, this left ear and right ear, that gap between there, you're screwed.
Yeah.
And then you have my other friend, mother advisor, Andy Tanner. He wrote the book, Stock Market Cash Flow. Instead of investing for the long term, he makes money in the markets going up or down. I'd rather do that than buy, pray, and hold and listen to Susie Orman and Dave Ramsey. But it's your choice.
Yeah.
Other guys, Kenny McElroy, he writes all my real estate books. He's my real estate partner. We've made fortunes together. It's just fortunes, tax-free. Why would you go to school? Just buy some books, study them, get their YouTube.
Make some mistakes on your own, right?
Oh, you don't have to just get stupid. But blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit. Meek means egoless. I'm going to learn. So I know what goes on in the stock market. That's why I stay out of it. But if you don't know, might be the best place for you. So if you want to stay in the stock market, that's Andy Tanner, Stock Market Cash Flow and 401 Chaos. They tell you what's really going on because they're real. They're in the market every day. You know, Jim Rogers wrote Investment Banker and all that. He lives in Singapore. He basically says the problem with the Fed is they don't know what they're talking about. They're idiots. And we'll listen to them. They're the Wizard of Oz. Everybody thinks they know something because they got this piece of paper, like my poor dad, call it PhD. Rich Dad, Poor Dad had a financial statement. You cannot lie in your financial statement because that's fraud. PhDs, diploma. Rich people, financial statements. The other thing is this, I don't have a financial planner. I have a family office. The rich have family offices. So we have money to lend constantly. We make so much money. So there's a difference in the mindset, the intelligence, and what you learn. So I think the most important thing that you're teaching people, you know, in the School of Greatness, is basically choose your teachers. What path you want to go down? You know, when your football career ended, it was the best thing that happened to you.
Yeah. Started finding mentors.
Yeah. And that's what you're doing. And so you're a great role model for your generation.
Oh, thank you.
In my generation, they're still baby boomers. What's that? Hello, boomer. What do they say? Hey, boomer. We're idiots. Jesus, they still, most boomers are still counting on Social Security and the stock market.
I hear you. I don't know if you said the third one. You said knowledge is finite, stupidity is infinite. So stay stupid, number one, which I love that because I've always felt like I'm the dumbest person in the.
Mistakes is what it means.
What's that?
Be humble and make mistakes and learn.
Yeah, exactly. Be careful who your teachers are. And the third one was
don't hide behind a diploma. You know, if somebody says to you, so show me your financials. So like that's the story of a family office versus everybody has a home office. That's different than a family office. So a family office is like a hedge fund. But rich guys have their own hedge funds or their own private equity firms. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So that's where you want to get to. So when you're there, the difference is people ask me for money, like on Shark Tank. The first thing I ask them for is not the diploma. Show me your financials. If they don't have financials, I won't invest with them because they don't know what they're talking about.
Just because you have a cool degree or fancy paper doesn't mean you can get results.
Oh God! You see, you can lie from behind a diploma. That's what the Fed's doing. So that's all Rich Dad Poor Dad is about. It's about financial statements, and the cash flow game is you physically. Again, like I said, it's physically you have. There's four intelligences: mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. The game makes you fill out your financials on these four intelligences.
Yeah.
Because you have to move the things, you have to fill out the numbers and all this stuff. So it's max learning.
Before we continue this video, make sure to subscribe below and turn on the notification bell right now so you don't miss out on these great videos every single day.
I remember a case that changed me profoundly. To tell you the story quickly. So I started my business in 1975, investing. And it's easy to be wrong in investing. That's part of the game. But in 1980, 81, I calculated that American banks had lent a lot more money to countries than those countries were going to be able to pay back. And that they would therefore have a big debt default and that would cause an economic crisis. And it got a lot of attention because it was a controversial view. And then in Mexico defaulted in August 1982. So that prediction sort of, came right and some countries did. And I got a lot more attention because of that was right. And I thought we were going to go into an economic spiral, a depression, a big debt crisis. And I couldn't have been more wrong. And that was the exact bottom in the stock market.
Yeah.
And I lost money. I lost money for myself. I lost money for my clients. I had to let everybody in my company go.
Mm.
And I was so broke, I had to borrow $4,000 from my dad to
Wow.
help pay some of my family bills. So, I mean, it was a lot of pain.
This was 82.
Yeah.
So you were broke then. 82.
Broke. Totally
No
broke.
money.
No money. No
Wow.
money. And that was one of the best things that ever happened to me. It was very painful, but it was one of the best things because it gave me the fear of being wrong without me losing my audacity. In other words, it gave me an open-mindedness. It made me start to think, how do I deal with what I don't know? So it made me find the smartest people I could find who disagreed with me to start to understand their thinking. It made me think about how I could maintain that upside. Risk goes with return. So I didn't want to have an ordinary life.
Mm-hmm.
So I still wanted the big upside return, but how could I do that without less risk?
Downside.
That's right. And so that was a problem. That was part of my reflection. And that reflection led me to understand how I could diversify better, how I could stress test my thinking better, and so on. Then I brought in the smartest people I could find who were independent thinkers who would disagree with me. And then I did that. And that was the exact bottom financially and so on in my life. From that point up to, not long ago, Fortune described Bridgewater as the 5th most important private company in the country, in the US. And so it was that pain and reflecting well on that pain that gave me a greater ability to deal with what I don't know. And I learned, this is an important thing to learn, that whatever success I had came more from my knowing how to deal with my not knowing than from anything I knew. In other words, what you know in your head is only a small percentage of what the important things and the right things to know is. And so to be able to go outside of one's head and to take in the best of the best of the best, wherever it comes, and then use that to make decisions. And all of that came from that painful, very painful mistake.
Where do you think you'd be today if in 82 you didn't go broke and have that massive pain?
I'm sure I'd have, a very ordinary, I don't know, life. I don't know, because I wouldn't have known how to have great upside while having acceptable risks. Right. In other words, like I at the time I reflected it. I felt it was like the following. I'm on one side of a jungle, and I'm on this one side of a jungle, and you could go in order to imagine you could have great success if you can cross the jungle alive to get to the other side. But in the jungle are all sorts of terrible things that could kill you and so on. And you have a choice. You can have this boring, or you can have this ordinary life, or you can try to cross the jungle. Now, each one of us would approach that differently. For me, I had to have the greatest life I could have. So I have a little bit of a taste of adventure. So how would you cross that jungle? And what I learned was that the best way to cross that jungle would be with a team of people who I cared about, they cared about with me, who could see things that I couldn't see, and I could see things that they couldn't see. And that way you could be effective together. And so that's what I did. That's how it worked. And what I also learned through that thing is I don't want to get out of the jungle. I don't want to get to the other side because the actual act of being in it with them and to do those things is itself rewarding. So I'm confident that I wouldn't have learned that if I didn't have that kind of experience.
So you're still in the jungle today?
Yeah, I'm in my jungle, but my jungle everyone's jungle is a life arc. There's a life arc, right? You have to recognize the life arc. 0 to, I don't know, 80, 85 or something is the life arc. Something like that. I'm 71. I know where I am on that journey. Okay. It's important to know, where are you on your journey? And then when you start to think about that, like, where will I be in 10 years? I'm going to be a different person in 10 years. Okay. Where will the people I love be? Think about yourself. Where will you be in 10 years? And where will the people you love be? It could be your kids. It could be your parents. Where will they be? And what will their experiences and the journey that they're going through and you're going through? And this script in the journey, by the way, is pretty well known, right? Like, I think, I'll give you an example. I think it comes kind of in 3 phases. The first phase is when you're dependent on others and, you're learning. Okay. Then what happens is you get out of school and you become independent and you go to work, and then it's entirely different. You're in the second phase of your life when others are dependent on you and you're working and you're trying to be successful. And then but there are the arcs, and you could see markers along those lines. Do you get married? When do you have a kid? When, like, I realize, like, when my kids have kids, I'm now in my third phase. Okay. So you see these things, and so you have to see that. So what I want at this phase of my life at 71, I'm in transition from my second phase, in which I've worked and I've won and I've played, it's like, had my battles and it was great and so on. And now I'm in a mission to pass along the things that were valuable to me. I want to pass them along to others. And then I'm going to go quiet. And then I'm in that other phase, but you learn things. And so this is kind of a mentor, pass it along phase.
How do you stay confident in transition from kind of one identity to a new identity? That's something new, that's something unknown, whether it be in your personal transition life or in the financial world where things are unknown, things are transitioning, or it might seem like it. How do you personally stay confident in the transition?
First of all, you're really talking about comfort with ambiguity.
Yeah.
Okay. And the way that I feel it is, life is like an adventure. I mean, if you knew everything, it wouldn't be nearly as good, right? So the ambiguity is part of it. It's part of the game. It's just the way it is. And then, so to then experience that and to know how to deal with ambiguity, because the same rules apply. Feel it. What's it like? How does it feel? Where are the pulls to? How do you learn? How do you learn how to approach it? What's it like? Speak to others who have been in that spot before. Taste it, and so on. Our preferences change, as you're going through all those things. So you feel it out. You learn about it. You go to the things that you feel the pull toward.
I'm curious. You have feelings you've been talking about for a few moments, but I know you're a very thoughtful human being. You create algorithms for your entire work, your team, everything is based on algorithms, kind of thoughts and ideas. But I'm hearing you say you're a deep feeler as well. Would you say you're more led by thoughts or your feelings? And
no, I think it's the alignment of them. Okay, here's the facts pertaining them. There is a subliminal mind that we have, and there's a conscious mind. Freud discovered that there's a subliminal mind. So we have, and in that subliminal mind, we just don't see it because it's not conscious, but it has a big effect. And so feelings and those things are coming through that subliminal mind, and it really has a big control. And then there's a conscious logical mind. So for everybody. And so they're in your mind, they're like everybody's mind. There are these kind of two minds that are working. Now, I find that when I align them, meditation has had a big effect on me. I've been meditating since 1969.
Wow.
So for a long time. because what that does, literally, it's an exercise where you repeat a mantra, the sound, and then you lose sort of a consciousness and you go into the subconscious mind. But in any case, to reconcile feelings with thoughts, to recognize feelings with logic and align them, like each has to double check for me. Mm-hmm. Like if my feelings, I'm a big feeling person. The most important things in life for me are what? Inspiration, love. What is it about? I mean, what are you doing it for? But at the same time, to be able to get there, logic and be able to express oneself and in algorithms or so is a good thing. So when they're aligned, it's kind of a double check and it works at both levels. So I think that's most important.
When you doubt a decision or maybe just a moment in your life, personal or business related, doesn't matter. When you're in doubt of something, what is your personal mantra to get you back to a kind of a centered, aligned place where you can make a better decisions?
Well, on the doubts, the question is always like, how big of a deal is it and what is the type of bet and so on? And, little doubts, no, okay, that's no big thing. Life and death decisions, those kinds of things, they're big, those are the big questions. Mm-hmm. And what I realize on those is doubting is part of that process. You can only be sure a certain amount. How do you get to the best triangulation? In other words, take in from the smartest people and your own thoughts and so on, so that you're making that, understand how reality works, and then try to make sure that none of your decisions are the ones that knock you out of the game. In other words, like I've got an expression for people who work for me: you can scratch the car, but you can't total the car. You could. So realize, okay, you don't win it all. You make your best bets, but don't have the one. So you have to eliminate the killer ones, because you have enough killer ones, and odds are one of them is going to get you.
Right.
So I approach it basically that way. Try to make the diversification. Try not to have any killer. Eliminate all of those that are unacceptable, and then go for the upside and doubt. But I'm used to doubt. I doubt. There's everything. Every time you put on a position in the markets, for example, I am never sure if it would be easy if I knew. So there's a lot of doubt.
Right.
So doubt is part of it, but don't put yourself in a position that you can have unacceptable.
Where you go broke.
Being banged around a little bit is okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So how do you have confidence when you're doubting yourself and you're like, I think this is going to do well based on all the math and historical evidence and feelings? How do you have confidence when you place that bet?
I have enough bets that I make the bet so that no one of them, I won't allow anyone that'll kill me.
Right.
And then I'll typically only want to make bets that I feel good about. And I will have them stress tested, my bets, by having other people stress test it. So yeah, just imagine, I don't know, you're playing a chess game. Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe you're a chess master, but okay, what are you going to do? You have to still make a move. So, okay, what's the best thing to do? Now, imagine you could ask the best chess masters in the world what you do and think about the pros and cons and make your decision and just not make it that also one's going to knock out of the game. So it's that.
If you're looking for more greatness in your life, make sure to check out this video right here. And also check out our free PDF, The 3 Secrets to Unlock the Power of Your Mind, to help you change your life. Download it right here.
The investment has to be indestructible. So I'm indestructible, right? I can invest in me.